It's official, Trump's immigration plan has officially been leaked, and I'm going to break it down for you. On day one, his very first priority is probably going to be canceling all of President Biden's executive orders, specifically parole. You know, all those countries who are going through terrible conditions like, war, so Biden had the empathy to be able to let them come legally in this country based on their country situation. Well, Trump is probably going to take all of that away from them. For example, the war in Ukraine with Russia. So Biden allowed citizens from Ukraine to legally enter the country and be able to work with authorization, and then eventually they can adjust status without having to leave the country because they enter legally. That is because they have crazy conditions. They're literally in a war. But Trump doesn't have empathy for immigrants in general, let alone in countries that are going through war. So I'm assuming day one, that'll be his first priority, wiping all those executive orders. He will also be reinstating the Remain in Mexico program. What that was is basically when he was president the first time, if anyone came to the border applying for asylum, then you could wait out your case and what's going to happen in the United States while you're waiting a decision. Now with Remain in Mexico, it's a little bit different. So what he'll require is if you are planning on applying for asylum, you'll probably do something called a credible fear interview. That interview will basically allow you to come to the country. You'll have this interview with a Border Patrol officer where they will determine not whether you're eligible for asylum, but whether you're eligible to eventually apply for it. Well, usually if you pass that interview, you're allowed to go in the United States and wait out your case. Eventually, you'll get a court date. You're actively put in removal proceedings where you will use asylum as a defense to eventually getting deported. However, under this policy, when he implemented it the first time, you would have to wait in Mexico, which is basically you could wait in any country, but you're not coming in the United States until they make a decision on your case. This will not be with immigration court, however, because you can't be put in immigration court if you're not in the United States. So in this situation, you would quite literally probably go to the border, tell them that you're applying for asylum and that you have a fear of returning to your country based on persecution. They will then conduct the credible fear interview, and then they'll tell you, get out. You can file the application with USCIS for asylum, and we'll let you know if you get approved. So that means no work permit while you're waiting, no removal proceedings, no court date. Some of that's good. You're not actively being deported, but the whole point of seeking asylum is seeking refuge from the country that you're from. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be safe in Mexico. So it sucks that he's going to do this, but I absolutely predict him doing this probably on day one as well. Speaking of asylum, it's pretty much impossible to get anyway, but he plans on making it even more difficult to obtain now that he's president. Now let me tell you something about asylum. 95% of asylees do not get approved, even if you have a very valid, heart-wrenching case. Once you get denied for your asylum application, you get put in removal proceedings where you have to use it as a defense to getting deported. I, as an immigration attorney, rarely take asylum cases knowing this risk. Sometimes, even if you have the best case possible, I'd rather you sit here and be undocumented and wait for the law to change, or for mountains to move, or for God to come out of the clouds himself and tell you, I have a way of you getting a green card even though you were 100% eligible for asylum. He's also promising mass deportation of quite literally everyone, so that's 11 million undocumented immigrants through the army. So somehow he's going to find the manpower and money to fund the National Guard to fight domestic affairs through the Aliens Enemies Act. Now, here's why that's a problem. That act can only be utilized against foreign spies in the United States. Undocumented immigrants from Mexico looking to pay their bills and support their family, and immigrants from Central America seeking refuge from persecution in their home country are not foreign spies. They're not enemies of the United States. So good luck with that. He's also gone into birthright citizenship. Yeah, I actually said that, birthright citizenship. So people who were born in the United States, which is a constitutional right, would be allegedly stripped of their citizenship because one of their parents is undocumented. Now, let me tell you, that's not going to work, and I'll go into a whole nother video, and I'll post that next, about how you actually can't do that in an executive order. But he's not going to make this work. It's not going to happen. So that's one of his promises, but that part I can promise you will not be successful. And last but not least, the construction of actual detention camps, probably in Texas. Texas is looking to sell specific land to the Trump administration so that we can secure detention camps for undocumented immigrants, because they're bothering us so much in their homes that they already pay for. I'm an immigration attorney, so I'm going to be breaking down each policy in individual videos after it. So please subscribe to me. I'm going to go into detail about how realistic they are and how to protect yourself and your undocumented in America.